Are you trying to figure out whether you should live in Pleasanton, California or Fremont, California? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today, so let's get to it. Welcome to the Thriving in the San Francisco East Bay channel. I'm Rich Fleming, your local realtor, and I'm here to teach you everything you need to know about living, working, playing, sleeping, eating. You know the drill. In the San Francisco East Bay, I get a ton of people who reach out to me with questions about what it's like to live here, how to transition here, what they need to know before they get here. And I love it. That is why I do these videos. I have moved places and not known anything or anyone before I've gotten there, so I know how tough that is. So if you have any questions, you know what to do. Drop me a text, give me a call, send me an email. The contact information is below. Now in today's video, we're going to talk about and kind of compare two cities that I get a ton of questions about: Fremont, California and Pleasanton, California. So we're going to talk a little bit about these two cities and compare them on 5 different factors. And those factors are housing, commerce/employment, transportation/traffic, cultural diversity, and education. So let's just jump right into that. Now, as I always do in these videos, let's start out with where you can find these two cities on a map. Now, Fremont, California is located about 27 miles southeast of Oakland, California. The simplest way to get there from Oakland is to get on the 880 freeway and just drive south 28 miles. You will arrive in Fremont, California. Now, Pleasanton, California is also about 29 miles from Oakland, and it is also southeast of Oakland, but it is further to the east and not quite as far south as Fremont. So probably the simplest way to get to Pleasanton from Oakland is to drive south on 880 until you get to the 238 interchange, which will then lead to 580 East, and 580 will take you straight out to Pleasanton. Now, Fremont is a far larger city than Pleasanton. So Fremont has a population of about 240,000 people, while Pleasanton has a population of around 80,000 people. So that makes Fremont about 3 times as populous as Pleasanton. So when we're doing some of the comparisons here, you have to take that into consideration, and some other factors related to size. Now let's start with comparing housing in the two cities. Now, according to redfin.com, the median price for a home in Pleasanton, California in December of 2022 is $1.45 million. Whereas in Fremont, California, the median price for a home is about $1.3 million. But once again, part of this difference has to do with the size of the cities and their relative newness to each other. Now, as I mentioned, Fremont is a much bigger city than Pleasanton, and it is somewhat of an older city. And you will find that the housing stock in Fremont has a lot more smaller 3 bedrooms, mid-sized 3 bedrooms, even 4 bedrooms. And that is going to tend to push the average price down, especially if the housing stock is a little older, in comparison to Pleasanton, where most of the housing stock is 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and up, and is probably a little bit newer than Fremont. So don't read too much into these median numbers. In both cities, you can find homes that are somewhat less than these medians, and you can definitely find homes that far exceed these. Both cities have great neighborhoods to live in, so it's just kind of splitting hairs when it comes to housing, comparing these two cities. Commerce. And I'm going to divide this one into 2 components. One is an employment component, where is it probably easier to find employment at, and the second is access to shopping, activities, things to do. And commerce, I would definitely, when it comes to employment opportunities, give the advantage to Fremont. And this is once again related to its geographic location. Fremont has a lot of tech companies located in it, and relative to Pleasanton, it is closer to a lot of other Silicon Valley hotbeds for employment, such as San Jose, Mountain View, Palo Alto, Sunnyvale, than Pleasanton is. So if you have to work, say, in Mountain View, your commute, if you've got to go into the office, is just going to be significantly longer coming from Pleasanton than it is going to be from Fremont. So when it comes to that aspect, I'm going to give a little bit of an advantage to Fremont. But when it comes to shopping, entertainment, and other things, I'm probably going to give a little bit of an advantage to Pleasanton. Pleasanton probably has a stronger centerpiece for attracting people for shopping. It has Stone Valley Mall, which is a very popular mall. Nearby in Livermore, there is a large outlet mall that people love to visit. And in the downtown area of Pleasanton, it's got a lot of great restaurants, a great community feel to it, which in my view, a lot of Fremont you don't find. And part of that is due to Fremont's unique way it came together. It was a merger of essentially 5 towns, probably about 70 or 80 years ago. And each of the parts of Fremont kind of kept its own character. So it's a little bit of an unusual city. But when you're talking commerce overall, I'm going to give the advantage to Pleasanton. Why? Well, it definitely has its own tech hubs. A lot of the major tech companies have offices in Pleasanton, and it definitely, at least in my view, has better shopping, dining, entertainment options than Fremont does. And the last factor we're going to talk about, just culture, things to do. And both of these cities are fairly suburban, but they do have definitely their cultural feel to them. They have things to do. Pleasanton is developing more of an arts community. It's still relatively small. Fremont probably has a little bit larger of an arts community, but more importantly, it is closer geographically to San Jose, which has a very large arts community, and you have very good access to the arts communities in Oakland and Berkeley. So when it comes to culture, both cities, in my view, are kind of dependent on the larger cities nearby for a lot of their cultural access. But I'm going to give a little bit of an advantage to Fremont just because it's a larger city and it has better geographic location to cultural hubs such as San Jose and San Francisco. Next up, traffic and transportation. Now, both of these cities are pretty comparable when it comes to traffic and transportation, but one of them does have a little bit of an edge, and I'm going to explain that. Pleasanton has 2 BART stations, which is great, gives you great access if you needed to get into downtown San Francisco, Oakland, other parts of the East Bay to work. Now, Pleasanton is serviced by 2 major freeways, Highway 580, which runs east-west through the northern part of the city, and Highway 680, which runs north and south, which runs through the western part of the city. Now, driving throughout most of the rest of the city is pretty much on surface streets until you reach one of these freeways. There is some bus service in Pleasanton, but to my knowledge, it isn't stellar, and it's really designed to take you from work areas within the city or office areas within the city to a BART station. It is not really designed, nor is it considered superb for just getting around the city. Now, Fremont also has 2 BART stations, maybe it's 3. BART has been building down in that area. And it is also serviced by 2 major freeways. And both of these freeways primarily run north-south through the city. Highway 880 runs north-south through the city, and it is to the western part of the city. And Highway 680 also runs north-south, and it is more to the easterly part of the city. Now, the traffic patterns in the cities are a little bit different. With Pleasanton, there is a definitely commute direction in the morning and in the evening, heading either towards San Francisco or towards Silicon Valley. Whereas in Fremont, you can have traffic in all directions on the freeways in the morning. And that's just because of its geographic location. A lot of people are heading south into San Jose, that area, to work in Silicon Valley. There are bridges that are in Fremont that lead you to the San Francisco Peninsula, to areas like Palo Alto, Mountain View, where there are a lot of major tech companies, and a lot of people work in San Francisco and Oakland, which is to the north of Fremont. So you can have traffic in that city just in all directions during rush hours. Now, if you look at the website numio.com about traffic and transportation, you'll see that the two cities compare pretty closely. But I'm going to give the advantage to Fremont when it comes to traffic and transportation, and that's because it is geographically just closer to a lot of employment centers in Silicon Valley, in San Jose, Palo Alto, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and it might be a little bit easier to get up to Oakland and San Francisco than it is from Pleasanton. So traffic and transportation, advantage Fremont. Next, we're going to talk about the schools in these two cities. Now, Pleasanton is primarily served by the Pleasanton Unified School District, while Fremont is served by primarily the Fremont Unified School District. Now, comparing school districts and schools within each of those districts can be a little bit challenging, and I always encourage people to do their own research. Make sure the needs of you, your children, your family are being met by the individual districts. Don't go too much on rankings and things like that. But to give you some comparison, I have used the ranking tool on a website called niche.com to give you an idea as to how well regarded these two districts are. So according to niche.com, the Fremont Unified School District is considered the 580th best school district in the country and the 64th best school district in California. Now, the Pleasanton Unified School District is considered to be the 107th best school district in the country and the 17th best school district in California. Now, once again, your experience with these school districts can vary dramatically depending on where you are in the district, principal, teachers, so there is no one number that really summarizes. But according to the methodology used by niche.com, we'll give the advantage to Pleasanton. So which city is better for you to move to? Well, you're probably not going to be surprised at this answer. It depends. It depends on what you prioritize as being most important in a city when you move there. So if you're very, very concerned about schools, well, maybe Pleasanton is going to be a better fit for you than Fremont. They're both excellent options, but if you had to pick one or the other, maybe Pleasanton is where you pick. But if you're more concerned about employment options and more reasonable commutes, well, maybe you pick Fremont. Both cities are great. Do not take this video as saying one city is clearly better than the other. It is a matter of choice. They're both great places to live. You just really have to understand what their differences are and what works for you. So if you've got any questions about anything I talked about in this video, you know what to do. Drop me a text, give me a call, send me an email. Contact information is below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up so YouTube knows to show it to people with interests similar to yourself. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you know each and every time I drop a new video, and I'll catch you in the next video.